key agency enforcing gun laws, hasn't had a permanent director since 2015.
The background check bill has been passed by the House of Representatives. Thank you.
And there's nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Stood in the way and stopped every effort at gun safety for 30 years in this nation. 30 years ago, the last time this nation passed meaningful gun safety laws, and the NRA and the vast majority of congressional Republicans voted against it, saving lives and keeping America safe.
Breaking news: President Biden takes a firm stand on arm control with the official announcement of new restrictions. Explore the implications and reactions in this critical update on arm regulations. Biden's groundbreaking gun restriction law. President Biden has taken a significant step in addressing the critical issue of arm crime by officially announcing a new arm restriction law. This groundbreaking legislation establishes a dedicated office for armed crime prevention within the administration, demonstrating a strong commitment to tackling this pressing concern. The announcement underscores the administration's recognition of the urgency surrounding armed crime, particularly for Democratic activists and young voters who have long championed comprehensive arm reform. Vice President Harris will play a central role in overseeing the operations of this newly formed office, highlighting the administration's prioritization of this initiative. Additionally, the appointment of White House Staff Secretary Stephanie Feldman to lead the office's efforts underscores the administration's commitment to effective coordination in the fight against armed crime.
Enhanced background checks for 18 to 21 years old, red flag laws.
Weapons and high-capacity magazines in 3 communities in 3 different states in our nation. Enough!
Feldman has emphasized that the office's mandate extends beyond surface-level measures. It will undertake a thorough examination to identify and implement additional life-saving actions that the administration can take. This comprehensive approach acknowledges the multifaceted impact of armed crime on affected communities, recognizing the need for targeted and meaningful interventions. The creation of this office is a response to years of advocacy by armed control activists who have recognized the potential impact of such a dedicated initiative. Given the current gridlock in Congress on arm reform, the establishment of this office represents a proactive strategy to advance meaningful change. It serves as a testament to the administration's commitment to bypassing legislative challenges and taking concrete steps toward reducing armed crime. The appointment of experienced activists Greg Jackson and Rob Wilcox to the new office further underscores the administration's dedication to this cause. Greg Jackson, a survivor of armed crime, brings a unique perspective shaped by personal experience. His leadership at the Community Justice Action Fund demonstrates a steadfast commitment to effecting real change in the realm of armed crime prevention. Rob Wilcox, with a wealth of expertise from organizations like Everytown for Armed Safety and Brady, provides invaluable insight and knowledge to the initiative.
Gun violence in this country is an epidemic, and it's an international embarrassment. And the NRA and the vast majority of congressional Republicans voted against it, saving lives and keeping America safe.
One of the primary hopes of activists is that this office will empower President Biden to leverage his platform in advocating more vigorously for comprehensive armed safety measures. Through his presidential influence, Biden can draw greater attention and urgency to this critical issue, potentially mobilizing both public support and legislative action. In a nation grappling with the ongoing issue of armed crime, the official announcement of this new arm restriction law signifies a significant stride towards change. By establishing a dedicated office, the Biden administration aims to coordinate efforts, provide support to affected communities, and leverage presidential influence to make tangible progress in the fight against armed crime. The appointment of experienced activists further underscores the administration's resolute commitment to this critical cause. While legislative progress may face challenges, the creation of this office demonstrates a determined effort to confront the issue head-on. Armed crime prevention. The call for a dedicated White House team to address the issue of armed crime reflects the urgency and severity of the problem, as emphasized by Paul Murray, chair of the Newtown Action Alliance. The roots of this grassroots organization trace back to the devastating mass casualty incident at an elementary school in 2012, an event that claimed the lives of 20 children and 6 adults. This tragedy remains etched in the collective memory of the nation, serving as a stark reminder of the dire consequences of armed crimes. Murray's assertion that arms crime constitutes a national crisis is a sentiment echoed by many advocates and concerned citizens across the country. The scale and frequency of such incidents underscore the need for sustained and targeted efforts to combat this pressing issue.
Stood in the way and stopped every effort at gun safety for 30 years in this nation. Keeping guns out of the hands of people who are a danger to themselves and others.
Establishing a specialized team within the White House signifies a commitment to proactively address the multifaceted challenges posed by armed crime. Further emphasizes the alignment of public opinion with President Biden's stance on armed crime. Citing a recent NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll, she points out that a majority of Americans prioritize the need to curb armed crime over protecting armed rights. This shift in public sentiment reflects a growing recognition of the urgency to implement measures that can effectively mitigate the impact of armed crime on communities. From Murray's perspective, President Biden not only recognizes the political advantage of championing armed crime prevention, but also acknowledges the moral imperative to do so. Addressing this issue aligns with both the interests of the American people and the fundamental values of compassion, safety, and well-being. The call for a dedicated team within the White House to tackle such represents a significant step towards meaningful change. By allocating specific resources and attention to this critical issue, the administration demonstrates its commitment to proactively address the challenges posed by it. This move reflects an understanding of the profound impact that such occurrences have on communities and individuals, and the need for sustained, coordinated efforts to enact positive change. Furthermore, the alignment of public sentiment with President Biden's approach underscores the growing consensus on the urgency to implement effective prevention measures. The prioritization of curbing armed crime over protecting armed rights, as indicated by the poll, highlights a shift in societal attitudes towards a more proactive stance on this critical issue. Indecision. The advocacy for a dedicated White House team to focus on prevention signifies a recognition of the gravity of the issue and a commitment to enact meaningful change.
30 years ago, the last time this nation passed meaningful gun safety laws, and there's nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
It reflects an alignment of public sentiment with President Biden's approach, emphasizing the urgency and moral imperative to address this as a pressing national crisis. By taking this step, the administration acknowledges the need for concerted, sustained efforts to protect communities from the devastating impacts of this evil. Biden's response and its implications. Armed crime has emerged as a pivotal concern for Gen Z voters, prompting President Biden to advocate for common-sense regulations and an attack-style arms ban. However, this stance faces opposition from both Republicans and a faction of Democrats. Biden's recent announcement underscores his willingness to take unilateral action on this critical issue, especially at a juncture where he seeks to mobilize and engage this vital voting bloc in preparation for the 2024 presidential election. The trajectory of armed crime as a political issue witnessed a notable shift during the 2018 midterm elections. It became a central theme in the Democratic campaign narrative, marking the first time that armed control advocacy groups outspent armed rights organizations like the National Rifle Association. This transformation in emphasis demonstrates a changing dynamic in American politics with respect to arms regulation. David Hogg, a co-founder of March for Our Lives, a movement catalyzed by a tragic mass incident at his high school in Parkland, Florida 5 years ago, highlights this paradigm shift.
In fact, we believe we should be treating responsible gun owners as an example of how every gun owner should behave.
The background check bill has been passed by the House of Representatives. Thank you.
He asserts that Democrats have transitioned from evading this issue to embracing it as a fundamental platform, proudly advocating for change. Hogg further emphasizes the crucial role that young voters play in Biden's potential re-election bid. According to him, it's not a subjective opinion but an objective reality. Biden is reliant on the support of young voters to secure victory. This demographic, particularly young voters of color, played a critical role in his electoral success in 2020, further underscoring their significance. Evolution of armed crime. The growing influence of young voters in shaping political agendas is evident in their prioritization of such crime as a critical issue. This demographic cohort, comprising primarily of Gen Z, has been disproportionately impacted by high-profile mass casualty incidents and rampant armed crime incidents. As a result, it has become a central concern for them, prompting them to demand action from political leaders. President Biden's advocacy for common-sense arm regulations and an attack-style weapons ban reflects an acknowledgement of this demographic's concerns. By taking a stance on this issue, Biden is not only addressing a genuine crisis, but also recognizing the importance of engaging and mobilizing young voters. However, the issue of arms control remains polarized within the political landscape.
Key agency enforcing gun laws hasn't had a permanent director since 2015. And we beat the NRA. We took them on and we beat the NRA straight up.
While President Biden and many Democrats advocate for stricter regulations, they face resistance from both Republicans and a faction of Democrats who oppose such measures. This divide underscores the challenges that come with enacting substantial arm reform on a national scale. The political dynamics surrounding arm control are further complicated by the influence of interest groups, with organizations like the National Rifle Association historically wielding significant sway. The 2018 midterm elections marked a turning point as arm control advocacy groups began to outspend their counterparts, indicating a potential shift in the balance of influence. Biden's calculated move. President Biden's recent announcement to address armed crime through executive actions signals a calculated move to demonstrate his commitment to the issue. By acting unilaterally, he seeks to bypass potential legislative gridlock and show decisive leadership in a critical area. Biden's focus on such aligns with the broader political strategy of appealing to young voters, who are increasingly becoming a formidable force in American politics. This demographic's activism and advocacy on arm control issues have demonstrated their potential to drive change and shape the political landscape. Indecision. The centrality of armed crime in the political consciousness of Gen Z voters has prompted President Biden to take a definitive stance on the issue. His advocacy for common-sense regulations and an attack-style weapons ban reflects a recognition of the urgency surrounding this crisis. However, political polarization and entrenched interests present significant challenges to enacting comprehensive arm reform. Biden's unilateral actions demonstrate a calculated move to engage and mobilize young voters, recognizing their pivotal role in shaping the political landscape. The evolution of armed crime as a pivotal political concern is a testament to the power and influence of the younger generation in American politics. New White House Office for Armed Crime Prevention. The White House's announcement of a new office dedicated to this prevention has ignited fervent debate. Critics argue that the establishment of this office is tantamount to an infringement on the right to bear arms, a fundamental aspect of American liberty. This development underscores the broader ideological divide surrounding arm control measures. President Joe Biden's decision to create this office is seen as a response to the pressing issue of armed crime in the U.S., with nearly 1,300 American children succumbing to arms-related incidents this year alone. It is a matter that demands attention. The stark contrast in childhood arm mortality rates between the U.S. and Canada, where the latter's rate is a mere fraction of the former, emphasizes the urgency of addressing this crisis. Furthermore, the surge in mass incidents in the U.S. is a sobering reality.
I was there 30 years ago, the last time this nation passed meaningful gun safety laws, and I have to take action, have to move, have to do something.
The nation is on track to witness the highest number of casualties from such incidents since 2006, painting a grim picture of the current state of armed crime in the country. President Biden has been an outspoken proponent of stricter arm control measures. His call to renew the ban on attack-style weapons and efforts to pass the bipartisan Safer Communities Act in 2022 reflect his commitment to curbing such crime. Despite facing significant challenges, particularly in a polarized political landscape, Biden's persistence in advocating for armed control measures has been evident throughout his term. However, the creation of this new office has met with staunch opposition. Critics argue that it represents an encroachment on the Second Amendment rights of American citizens. They view it as an overreach by the government, one that potentially infringes upon the fundamental right to bear arms.
Who lost their souls to an epidemic of gun violence. They lost their child, their husband, their wife.
The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
You know, I'm about to sign into law bipartisan gun safety legislation.
There is no constitutional right to carry a weapon. It just doesn't exist. The Supreme Court has acknowledged
for self-defense and protection. The influence of arm control advocacy groups, such as Moms Demand Action and Everytown for Armed Safety, cannot be underestimated in this context. Their efforts, combined with the advocacy of individuals like David Hogg, have played a significant role in shaping the conversation around armed crime prevention. The establishment of this office exemplifies the ongoing debate on arm control in America. It brings to the forefront questions about the balance between individual liberties and collective safety. Striking this balance is an intricate and contentious task, one that has profound implications for the fabric of American society. In supposition, the creation of the White House Office for Prevention marks a pivotal moment in the ongoing debate on arm control in the U.S. It highlights the urgency of addressing this grave issue, particularly in the context of mass incidents and demises of minors. The announcement has sparked passionate reactions from both proponents and critics, underscoring the complexity of the issue. As the nation grapples with this challenge, finding common ground on effective arm control measures remains a critical imperative. Critics, concerns, and opposition. The announcement of a new White House office dedicated to prevention has sparked intense debate and garnered criticism from various quarters. Critics express concerns over the potential implications of such an office on Second Amendment rights, a cornerstone of American constitutional freedoms. One of the primary concerns voiced by critics is the perceived encroachment on individual liberties. They argue that the creation of this office signifies a step towards increased government intervention and regulation in the realm of arm ownership. Critics believe that this move may infringe upon the rights of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms, as enshrined in the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Furthermore, some critics question the effectiveness of such an office in addressing the root causes of armed crime. They argue that while efforts to prevent such are important, the focus should also be on broader societal issues, such as mental health, socioeconomic disparities, and systemic crimes. Critics contend that a more holistic approach, which includes comprehensive mental health services, education, and community development, is necessary to tackle the complex issue. Another concern raised by opponents is the potential for the new office to become a partisan tool. Critics worry that the office may be used,
including red flag laws. It keeps guns out of the hands of people who are a danger to themselves and to others.
Today, we take another step to advance historic gun violence prevention legislation.
Instead, I signed into law the Bipartisan Safers Community Act, which you've referenced several times today,
to advance specific political agendas rather than pursuing objective, evidence-based solutions. They caution against the possibility of policy decisions being influenced by ideological considerations rather than a genuine commitment to public safety. Skeptics question the effectiveness of top-down government intervention in combating such. They argue that local communities are often better equipped to understand and address the unique challenges they face in terms of such crime. Critics contend that a one-size-fits-all approach imposed by a centralized federal office may not adequately account for the diverse circumstances and needs of different regions across the country. Some critics also express skepticism about the impact of armed control measures on criminal behavior. They argue that individuals intent on committing acts of crime may find alternative means to carry out their plans, regardless of legal restrictions on arms. Critics emphasize the importance of addressing the underlying causes of such behavior, such as social inequality and access to mental health resources, rather than solely focusing on arm-related legislation. In assumption, the creation of a new White House Office for Prevention has elicited significant opposition and concern from various quarters. Critics worry about potential infringements on Second Amendment rights, question the efficacy of top-down government intervention, and emphasize the need for a comprehensive, community-driven approach to tackling armed crime. Balancing the imperative to protect public safety with the preservation of individual liberties remains a complex and contentious challenge. As the debate on arm control continues, finding common ground and evidence-based solutions will be crucial to advancing meaningful progress in addressing armed crime in the U.S. Historical context of arm control legislation. The historical context of arm control legislation in the U.S. is a multifaceted narrative that reflects the nation's evolving perspectives on arms and the Second Amendment. From its inception, the U.S. has grappled with the tension between the right to bear arms and the need for public safety. This historical backdrop has shaped the development of arm control laws over the years. The Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, ratified in 1791, is a seminal document in the discussion of arm rights. It states, "A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed." This amendment was drafted in a time when the young nation had recently gained its independence from British rule and was wary of centralized power.
We did overcome an unrelenting opposition of the gun lobby to gun manufacturers and so many politicians who hide behind the belief
Democrats to restrict Second Amendment rights, like requiring background checks for transfers of firearms.
and for the shootings that happen every day in the street that are mass shootings we don't even hear about.
And all those cases, he's going to list maybe hundreds more, they involve guns that are not banned by this.
The framers sought to ensure that citizens had the means to protect themselves and their communities. The debate on armed control gained further momentum in the 1990s. The Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, commonly known as the Attack Weapons Ban, prohibited the manufacture and sale of certain semi-auto arms with specific features. However, this ban expired in 2004 and was not renewed. Since then, armed control legislation has remained a divisive and contentious issue in American politics. Efforts to pass comprehensive arm reform measures at the federal level have faced significant opposition, leading many states to enact their own laws pertaining to background checks, waiting periods, and other regulations. Indecision. The historical context of armed control legislation in the U.S. reflects a dynamic interplay between the right to bear arms, public safety concerns, and shifting societal attitudes. From the drafting of the Second Amendment to the present day, the debate on armed control has been central to American discourse on individual liberties and collective security. The evolution of arm laws mirrors the nation's ongoing quest to strike a balance between preserving constitutional rights and safeguarding the well-being of its citizens. Alternatives and solutions. Addressing armed crime is a complex and multifaceted challenge that requires a comprehensive approach encompassing various strategies. While legislative measures play a crucial role, they are just one part of a broader solution. Here are some alternative approaches and solutions to mitigating armed crime. Community-based interventions. Investing in community-based programs is essential for preventing armed crime. Initiatives such as after-school programs, mentorship opportunities, and recreational activities provide positive outlets for young people, reducing their likelihood of engaging in such practices. By fostering a sense of belonging and purpose, communities can steer individuals away from destructive paths. Conflict resolution and mediation. Teaching conflict resolution skills can help de-escalate potentially high-temper situations. Providing training in communication, empathy, and negotiation empowers individuals to resolve disputes without resorting to aggression. Mediation programs can also be implemented to facilitate peaceful resolutions in community conflicts. Education on responsible firearm ownership. Promoting responsible arm ownership is vital for reducing accidents and unauthorized access to arms. Education campaigns can emphasize safe storage practices, proper handling, and the importance of keeping arms out of the hands of unauthorized users, especially children. Law enforcement and community collaboration. Building trust and cooperation between law enforcement agencies and communities is essential.
This morning, though, we're here on a critical issue, gun violence. The conventional wisdom was we would never get any Republicans to support gun legislation.
Compared with the decade before its adoption, the Federalist ban was associated with a 25% drop in gun massacres.
So far this year, murders down in many major cities across the country. There's far too much gun violence.
Community policing initiatives, where officers engage with residents in a non-confrontational manner, can help bridge divides and improve the effectiveness of crime prevention efforts. Research and data collection. Investing in research on armed crime and its causes is crucial for developing evidence-based solutions. By understanding the underlying factors contributing to armed crime, policymakers can implement targeted interventions that address specific root causes. Public awareness and education campaigns. Raising public awareness about the consequences of armed crime and the importance of responsible arm ownership can foster a culture of safety. Education campaigns can be effective in changing attitudes and behaviors related to arms. Indecision. Addressing armed crime requires a multifaceted approach that encompasses legislative measures, community-based interventions, mental health support, conflict resolution, and responsible firearm ownership. By combining these strategies, communities can work towards reducing the incidences of armed crime and creating safer environments for all. It is imperative that stakeholders at all levels, from policymakers to community leaders to individuals, collaborate in this collective effort to protect lives and promote safety. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.